Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the sixth episode of the Mr.Prototype and Company podcast, where we are going to discuss everything about product design, creating prototypes, of course, and much more. Today we are again at home because it's nice and cozy.
And we're with some good company.
And we are going to talk about the one-fits-all. What do we mean with that?
Well, you have, in our case, two kinds of one-fits-all. First is that when you have an idea, you feel like it fits for everybody. Everybody will be able to use this idea.
Can be more defined, like from your target, for example, if it is for elderly. All the elderly can use it because it's an awesome thing.
Depends. There are examples where it can work. But the second type is
when they say that your product needs to fit another thing and all of them. Like, for example, my thing fits all the tables. Tables are different. They're very different in terms of height, uses, so they're all not the same. So making a one-fits-all for tables, for example, can be rather complicated.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with the first one. My product will be used by everybody.
The thing is that sometimes that can be true. I mean, I think why people have that in their heads when they're wanting to bring a product to market is like, look at Apple. The iPhone is with everybody.
The thing is that that's not completely true. I don't see my grandma with an Apple. I mean, with an iPhone.
I think there's plenty of grandmas with an iPhone. But that being said, like I think that's the mindset of like, that's a device that truly, in the end, everybody is using, from kids to grandparents, I'm pretty sure. I mean, especially the big one could be good for adult visual things. But most products are not an iPhone.
And mostly not at the beginning. It's easier to start with a product that is tailor-made for one audience.
It depends a bit on how much effort you can put and investment you can put in the marketing of that product as well. What is your single core feature? Once you have that core feature, you can actually go and look at, okay, for who is this the most important thing? For who would this create the most value? And once you know who it creates the most value to, well, that's just your first audience that you're going to start with. That's typically a pretty good way to go about it. Because otherwise what happens with marketing if you go too broad, quite broad, is that you actually need to invest significantly more. Because if the value for some people is less, then for those people to convert the same amount of people to buy the product, you will need to spend more. For those that are automatically excited about it because it's a perfect match, you will have to spend very little. So of course, in the beginning of making your product, it makes sense to tailor your product to that specific market, to make it a perfect market fit for that specific audience, and expanding you can always do later. There is no problem with that.
It also makes it way easier to make the ads and the content. Let's say that you want to make dog toys, but it's not the same a big breed or a small breed. You've seen that we have a greyhound here. If you try to market something for small dogs, to me, I'm not gonna care because
Even though you're a dog owner.
Yeah, I'm a dog owner, but I don't care about a pretty trolley to carry my Poochie around because he's not gonna fit in it. So it makes it way easier to have a clear message and a clear audience that you can use in the Facebook ads, for example. You can quite easily say that you are looking for people among this age that has a dog, and I bet you that you can even maybe specify some of the most popular breeds.
And at this point, some people might be wondering, wait, didn't you guys do product design? Why are you talking about marketing?
Because it's easier to do the whole picture. We like to work that way. We don't like to just care about the product per se and forget about the marketing. They will figure out, no, because actually we have done marketing for some products and some ideas, and it's way easier. I am the one that does it more often, and it's so easy to target when you know your audience perfectly.
And
It's
usually
amazing.
what happens is that people think product design is a linear development. This is more cyclical. That we will discuss it in a later podcast, maybe more detail. But you don't just do your marketing after you've done the product. You also need to let those interact.
Or even you can do the marketing before you define the product. We have done it in the past, creating similar ad campaigns for products that are slightly different, like having certain features, changing the design of the outside, run them and see which one gets the best response.
And again, looking at which audience likes this the most.
Yeah, because I remember, can I talk about Clea? One of those projects was a fish feeder. No. And surprisingly, ladies between 50 to 60 or something like that were actually interested, which wasn't an audience that we were considering at all.
So getting your audience, it's not that your product it's not that your product couldn't work for everybody. It's just that a startup is working with limited resources the most efficiently you can do it. And if you do that, it is very important to see, okay, I have this amount of marketing that I can do with my resources. Well, where should I put it? I have this amount of development I can do, because if you want it to work for everybody, you need to do more development. Where do I put it?
If it is a career for dogs, you will need to develop the size for the small dog, the medium dog, the big dog, and the huge dog.
Or you can start with one.
Yeah, pick the one that you think fits better your idea.
Or which one fits best with what people want, and you can figure it out with some simple tests.
Yep.
So that's the first type. The second type is more difficult. It relates to products that need to work with something else. For example, for dogs, I couldn't make a harness that fits all. I could make a harness that fits all dogs. I think we could do that, but I don't think it's a good idea.
Oof, if you say all.
All dogs.
No.
From the tiniest ones to the biggest ones.
If we put the harness that we have for this guy on a Chihuahua, it's gonna look rather ridiculous.
Yeah. But that's actually the reality of some of the questions that we get. And those kind of products typically are very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, we are making a bit of humor out of it, but it's no fun to try to make something that fits more than 10 different models.
The thing is that the first 50% is easy.
Yeah.
You typically can find some things in common. It's basically a Gauss curve.
Yeah, you can fit the majority.
So if you can handle like this much, then you have 50 or maybe 70% even. But then to be able to get the next 10%, you need to like do that times 1.5, and to get the next 10%, well, you need to double it. And then the last 5%, you almost need to go to infinity. And that level of flexibility, usually in combination with some form of fitting correctly, is incredibly difficult. Is more difficult than it seems. And the only thing we want to say there is try to see if there is a way for you to limit the scope. For you to say, okay, it works for this set of products and not for more.
For the example that we were using, dogs between 25 and 35 kilograms. That is already a limit.
Yeah.
That makes your life so much easier. Okay, maybe some breeds will be out. Again, I've seen dogs that are way different in size and shape that weigh the same as our dog.
Yeah.
It's completely different, but at least you have a limit.
Yeah, a limit is better than no limit. It will make the product development easier, it will make the marketing easier, it will make production easier. That being said, of course, you do limit yourself in who you can reach with that.
Yeah, it's always keeping a balance between everything.
But usually a great product can have enough reach to start with a narrow audience. And I don't believe that you need to have a wide audience to
No, and
make your
actually,
product succeed.
most of the current product design, marketing, new business goes for find your niche. Find your specific target that you're gonna treat like almost like a cat. Like you need to hear what they're saying and do what they are asking you to do, and that's it.
Yep.
I mean, that is our opinion.
And usually that is what a problem that you yourself encounter. That is something that you want to improve in your own life. Those are typically good starting points for doing that.
And it's something that we also apply to ourselves. Now, as I don't know, came to my mind Burnometer. We were thinking about making Burnometer for professional and home users at the beginning, and we are now scratching out the professional use because it needs a specific device. Because the way a professional kitchen works is completely different from our home kitchen.
Yeah.
Therefore, we saw that it wasn't applicable. You can't use the same device for both. So, yeah.
That being said, when you develop something for a narrower audience, all the development time isn't completely lost. For example, in Burnometer, all the software, all the knowledge we build up on how this stuff works, that carries forward to should we ever do a professional version. And the same is true, for example, if you need to make 3 versions for 3 different sizes of dogs.
Yeah.
You already know which materials you need to use, which ones work, which ones don't. You know roughly which strength you need to have, and you can scale it with the dogs. All those kind of things, research typically scales. So if you make another version, that version is not going to cost you as much as the first version did. And I would actually go as far and say that if you try to make one version that fits everything, you probably are going to spend the same as dedicated versions.
Yeah. Plus the thing that is in one go. So you won't even have a trial and error of smaller projects.
Yeah.
That you can do one version, launch it, and if it goes well, you do the other ones. You will have the big investment in one go without that first trial.
I think that's it.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was maybe a little bit weird because we mixed 2 things, but they're the same. Find your niche, find your audience, find your product.
And don't be scared to limit yourself in the beginning. The most important thing, both to investors, to being able to get successful, to advertising, is to have something that resonates with specific people. That's the most important thing.
I hope you enjoy. And like always, you can leave us message or questions in the networks. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course in our webpage. I will leave you the links in the description or in the podcast notes. And see you next time and go for a good year.
Yep.
Bye.
Ciao.